Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. An excellent opportunity to invite you to share with us today. Start off with a conversation with our good friends at CCMI. And then at 1 p.m., former education minister, educator, and certainly cultural historian, Mr. Roy Borden, will be our guest at 1 p.m. So please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is brought to you by Fidelity Bank. For all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Also brought to you by greenturtle.ky. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile. Saving lives today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255. Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. And it truly is a wonderful pleasure to continue to celebrate all the excellent things that transpire within our society. And I'm honored now, in particular, to be able to welcome our good friends from the Central Caribbean Marine Institute. And first, Miss Beth, to you, and then perhaps Miss Gretchen. Can I ask each of you just respectfully to maybe for our listeners, give a brief introduction. I know, Dr. Gretchen, it's amazing the research you're doing, so I'm anxious to get to that in a second. But Ms. Beth, perhaps to you first.
Sure, yes. Thank you so much for having us on. So my name is Beth Chafin, and I'm the Science Communications and Development Manager for CCMI. So I'm excited to talk to you about the great news that we have coming up and out of Little Cayman over the weekend, and happy World Oceans Day to you.
Indeed. To think that we can celebrate so much, but when we don't appreciate, that not just, the diversity within our oceans, the majesty, the beauty, but the significant importance of what they mean to our very existence and survival. It's unfortunate that for so long we've taken so much for granted. I think from that, Dr. Richard, we have a chance now as we celebrate World Oceans Day in particular, but to recognize that still it's in its infancy relative to other celebrations that we may have globally. At least our children in this generation are growing up to see a healthy respect for the environment and to understand the impact that our actions are having collectively, but equally individually. So perhaps for our listeners, as Director of Research, Dr. Gretchen, maybe you could share with us just a brief intro.
Yes, thank you for having us. So my name is Dr. Gretchen Goodbody Gringley. I'm the Director of Research at CCMI. And CCMI has a long legacy of protecting our marine environment and educating the public here in Cayman on the importance of our oceans. And so this World Oceans Day, we're very excited to share some of that, our research findings, with you all and really project a message of hope for the future.
All right. And I certainly, when we think back to Cayman in particular, and this notion that we've always had some, belief that the pristine nature of our sort of terrestrial environment, the excellent water clarity that we may have enjoyed, sometimes we take for granted that our actions to just simple leisure, pleasure boating, perhaps just even swimming or development could have. And maybe we want to ask you that in relation to some of the research and the resilience of our reefs that we may have sort of recognized. But first, Miss Beth, the notion of celebrating World, Oceans Day. Uh, to our listeners, what is it and why is it important?
That's a great question. So World Oceans Day is really just an important celebration and recognition of the important role that oceans play in all of our lives, everyone around the world. And it's a good time to take stock on just exactly what you were talking about, how our actions can impact the oceans and why we need healthy oceans and healthy coral reefs for everyone in our society. So it's a great celebration and also a moment of really paying attention to how we can try to make a positive difference for the health of our oceans and for the health of all of us. It's inextricably tied together. So with this World Oceans Day, our focus was to bring news of hope and talking about coral reef resiliency and how we can better understand that resiliency and also aid in helping coral reefs survive in a future changing environment. And the biggest news to come out of CCMI and Little Cayman over the weekend was that we have successfully championed for Little Cayman to be designated a Mission Blue Hope Spot, which basically is a way of recognizing the importance of the biodiversity and health of the reefs around Little Cayman.
And as I listen to you, perhaps, Dr. Gretchen, from that perspective, maybe a couple of things that we could ask of you if you would be, so inclined, and certainly guide us, because when I get a chance to talk about these sorts of things, I recognize two things: an incredible personal interest, sort of driven by just living here and watching what things were like as I recall as a child, and as I get to this age and stage in life, and wondering sometimes if the changes are just because I'm aging, or are they as obvious as they appear in terms of the development, the runoff from our lands and the like. But maybe if I could, we live in one world, and sometimes in the Cayman context, we're quick to compare Cayman to other jurisdictions. Perhaps in financial services, we compare us to Bermuda and other places, perhaps our population or pace of development. But the sea, the sea is the sea. You get in your sailboat and good weather and fair winds, and you could, God's willing, end up anywhere and everywhere. So Cayman to Bermuda, for instance, from that perspective, from your experiences back there, are we one water, or is it significantly different?
Well, certainly there are vast differences between Cayman and Bermuda because of the location of Bermuda so far north.
Right.
Cayman, is really a very typical Caribbean coral reef, and I think that Bermuda represents sort of an anomaly in terms of the diversity. So that there is nowhere near the diversity in Bermuda that we have here in Cayman on our coral reefs, and that's one of the reasons that we can be celebrated as a hope spot is because of that diversity. And what you have witnessed over your life in terms of just a general shift in what you're seeing underwater, that certainly has happened. And it's been happening not only in the Caribbean, but globally on coral reefs. So it's not just a matter of your own personal experience. Scientists have, in fact, been documenting that change. And at CCMI, we've been surveying the reefs of Little Cayman every year since 1999. And so we have a very good record now of what that change actually looks like. And so for here in Cayman, one of the things that we can say is that the actual coral here is quite resilient compared to other places in the Caribbean. So we've found that there has not been this drastic decline in coral cover that they've found in other regions, which is very important. However, we have found that there's been a shift in the types of corals that are residing on our reefs. So we used to have these large, branching corals, the elk horns and the staghorns, and then these big, giant boulder corals. Sometimes they could be like the size of a small car. Those have sort of shifted away, and we've moved away from having those kinds of corals to having smaller corals that are plate-like or small little boulder corals. And so we have seen a shift in the type of coral that's there, even though it's still, a healthy reef and covering the same amount of space. And that will have some impacts on how our reef functions. But in general, we're hoping that this means that our reefs here in Cayman are acclimatizing or adapting to changes in the ecosystem.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you just actually just for my personal benefit, I do it in a bit of a jest. We talk about the shifting, and we're seeing, we know people move, they pick up a house and they go, they want to change the scenery. As we're looking at the corals in that sense, we're not saying the corals are physically moving, but that shift it's only a 20-year period. Tell us a little bit more about that. I mean, what do you think that is? How is that occurring? Why is it in the context of the 2 decades that you've seen?
Sure. We scientists around the globe have really done a great job of documenting that the main threat to coral reefs is temperature. So corals are very fragile in terms of the change in temperature that they can tolerate. So even just a change of 1 degree can sometimes cause corals to bleach, as we call it. This is when they lose their algal partner and they turn white and they can't get enough energy to survive. And this has been the cause of major loss globally in corals, and Cayman is no exception. So bleaching events that have occurred in the Caribbean have caused the loss primarily of those few coral species that I was mentioning before, as well as disease. So there are a few coral diseases that have primarily infected those large branching corals. And that's really caused the loss of those species, and that opens up space for other species to come in and take over in the environment. But really, temperature is the thing. They don't like the temperature to change.
Yeah, some of us don't like it, too hot, and some of us really have it. All right.
That's right.
Now, when we come back from this short break, could we ask a couple of things? Perhaps over the 20 years in particular, have we noticed it to what extent the temperature shifts have been, and talk a little bit more about the resilience of our corals relative to others from what you see. We know that the Caymanian, especially after Ivan, we could see the resilience and the hard stock of the people. Is that the same relative to our reefs? And if there is, what may contribute to that level of resilience, if it is, relatively speaking, when compared to other jurisdictions? Could we talk about those things as well as some of your new coral restoration techniques as well?
Yes, for sure.
All right, looking forward to that. To our listeners, if we don't protect and preserve the environment, what will we have now? But more importantly, what will future generations enjoy and benefit? So let's pause, take a short break. When we come back, we invite you to be a part of our conversation.
Social distancing is crucial for our community to get back to normal. And never before has communication been so crucial. Keeping in touch with family, friends, and up to date requires you to stay in touch. Green Turtle offers the solution for both. Download the Green Turtle app now. Top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination in Cayman. Phones delivered to your home, and with the new rewards program, you can even redeem points towards a new phone and other products. Download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Hashtag Stay Home Cayman. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile, saving lives today.
You may be home isolating, but your taste buds can explore the world. Dragon Inn Restaurant and Countryside Plaza, offering savory dishes in traditional, authentic, American, Szechuan, Mandarin, Filipino cuisine, and Cantonese style, made fresh daily. Family dinner specials, rich in taste with no MSG. Choose from stir fry, chop suey, chow mein, sweet and sour, and so much more. Call 947-1166. Pick up Monday to Saturday from 10:30 a.m. until 7 p.m. Delivery 7 days per week until 9 p.m. Dragon Inn Restaurant and Countryside Plaza. Daily lunch specials and combinations, bringing international deliciousness to your doorstep. Call 947-1166 to place your order.
Hi,
Hi, this is Danny Coleman, Director of Hazard Management Cayman Islands. We are now in the hurricane season, and for information on how to prepare and stay safe, please visit our website, www.caymanprepared.ky. Some top tips to bear in mind, given that we are still in the midst of COVID-19. Please make sure you have a mask and sanitizer, you have food supplies to last for 3 to 5 days, a portable radio, personal hygiene and sanitation items, and medical supplies, and any other specific items your family may need during a hurricane. Make sure you know where you will shelter in the event of a storm. If you have pets, please make sure provisions are in place for them too, as the majority of shelters will not take pets. Please visit our website for more tips and tricks on www.caymanprepared.ky or call us on 945-4624. Stay safe, Cayman.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us as we invite you to be a part of our discussion. Honored to welcome from the Central Caribbean Marine Institute, Ms. Beth Chafin, the Science Communications and Development Manager, together with the Director of Research, Dr. Gretchen Greenlee. Just as we were going to the break, we were asking about this whole notion of the changes in temperatures now. 2 decades for a person may seem like a long time, but for an ecosystem, perhaps it's just a morning to sunset. But Dr. Gretchen, from that perspective, have we seen in the Cayman Islands, especially on Little Cayman specifically, significant changes in our temperature?
Yes, we have documented in the Caribbean an increase in temperature over the last 50 or so years. And so it's a very gradual increase, but it is an increase that affects the corals, particularly because it's that peak summer temperature that really is detrimental. So even though over the course of the year we may feel like the ocean is where it has been for the last 20 years, when it reaches that extreme high in August, September, that's when it's really harmful to the corals. But, we wanted to touch on resilience, and I wanted to bring that back that, just because the temperature globally is increasing, it doesn't mean that there aren't things that we can do locally to help build the resilience of our coral reef.
Yeah, definitely want to get into that. And that's what I was asking, because I believe from, some of your reports and publications over the years that you've indicated through, CCMI's research that for some reason, it appears that the corals in our area, in Little Cayman in particular, not only the stability is there, but it seems to be a little bit more resilient, relatively speaking. Any particular reason why you think that may be? Is it the type of coral, the less people? What potential?
That's exactly what we think. We think that the reefs in Little Cayman in particular are more resilient because the lack of local impact. So because there are so few people living there, because of the really strong protections with the Bloody Bay Marine Park, for example, the marine ecosystem just isn't as impacted as it is in other regions where there's heavy input from the terrestrial environment, from human use, etc. And so we really think that that is playing a big part in the resiliency of our reef system here.
Right. And just before I ask Ms. Beth to ask us to talk to us about the Mission Blue Hope Spot, Dr. Gretchen, the notion that perhaps it may not have been as evident on Little Cayman as I think we've noticed it here on Grand Cayman. Those few short weeks, and we joke and jest and say they may have felt like decades, that we were not necessarily impacting the environment to the extent that we were prior to, this whole scenario we're now facing, less cars on the road, less of us in the water, and like, there are some people who said, it's not that they're mistaken. It's very noticeable that the water quality is better, the air tastes cleaner. There are these things, not just here in Cayman, but seemingly it's been reported globally. In those short times, is it that we were so cooped up that we were mistaken, or is it that the Earth had a chance to breathe in that very short couple of days, as it were, almost, it made a significant difference. From the science perspective, is that possible?
I think it is possible. I think that the degree of our impact is so high that when we completely stopped everything, the environment globally had a chance to sort of regroup and take care of itself and almost start to self heal. And so I do think we proved through this pandemic that in fact globally we can change our ways and our habits in a way that can have a massive impact on our environmental footprint. And I think that's really important to keep in mind.
Yeah, I want to maybe if it's sorry,
I was just going to jump in there and say, and I think it's something that as globally we're looking to open up and start things moving again, that we keep in mind and carry forward some of that message that we really can make a change through small actions, through large changes, but it's something that we don't want to just let go and go back to doing things just as we were before necessarily, because there are so many ways that we can just make little tweaks that will have a big impact.
Indeed. Well, Ms. Beth, you're reading my mind. It's almost as if we're in the studio looking at each other and my notes are on the screen. I was going to ask you to jump in, because there are those of us who don't think the individual makes a difference. Whether it's the person speaking up against an injustice, whether it's the person saying, you know what, today I'm not going to drive my car, I'm going to walk. One person, certainly on a collective basis can make a difference. So one person can make a difference. Are there other things that we can and should be doing? I mean, this notion of being, sort of designated a mission Blue Hope spot. I want to ask you more about it, but is that similar? Not long ago, I think was it a Georgetown Harbor, somewhere in there was something that Mission Blue spot. Is this
yes, they were also actually designated as a Hope spot by Mission Blue, which has really been important, I think, in recognizing why we need to keep the reefs around Grand Cayman protected and safe as well, because they are so important to this island. And right there in the harbor, particularly, as you say, because there's been a reduction in boat traffic and things have calmed down, people can see how clear the water is now. They can see that beautiful, healthy reef that is right there, and that is so central to the economy and the safety of this island, that we really do need to protect it.
All right. Now, if I could, because I think sometimes we're so busy. I was just thinking, and again, you guys guide, make sure that my analogy isn't off, but I'm thinking of even the person who is constantly working, very productive, but if that person doesn't take, a well-needed rest and vacation and just unwind, they will not heal the mind and the body. Just athlete, or our environment, in particular our seas or oceans or beaches or coastline, they need a time to take a break from us being so much engaged, if I could put it that way, with it. So as we open up, what would be the things for sustainability for the future generations to enjoy, but even for ourselves now to be able to truly, benefit from it? Its bounty, its beauty. Is it that for some we're going to be that restrictive so they can't do anything, or is it that we're just going to be responsible instead? What do we do? How do we do it?
I think you hit the nail on the head there with just being responsible. And I'll talk about some everyday actions and then toss it over to Gretchen to talk about some of the larger things that we can do in terms of protections of our marine environments. But there's, if you talk about reducing your energy consumption, everyone, particularly since we're mostly working from home right now, people have seen a massive spike in power bills, and that's been a big topic of conversation, right? So if you think about adjusting your AC down just 1 degree or maybe 2 degrees so that it's a little bit warmer, maybe you can get used to it, but that actually will make a huge difference in your bills and in your impact on the environment. You can do things like you said, we can walk places or take a bike rather than taking a car, reducing our single-use plastic. When you're swimming and in the environment, if you are mindful of not making contact with the marine ecosystem, of using coral reef-friendly sunscreen, there are so many little things that you can do in every aspect of your life that cumulatively will have a big impact. And we've put together a couple of posters that we have on our website and that we've shared in the past that just outline some of those really simple actions that people can take, because it doesn't have to be a big drastic change in every element of your daily routine. And I think just being mindful, and also particularly because people are taking care of and teaching their kids at home so much right now, there are resources that we have also that are aimed at students, so kids can watch videos, do worksheets, and learn about the importance of our marine ecosystems and how they can make a difference, because there's always something you can do.
And I appreciate you sharing that. I guess it comes down to education on the part of us as the users, but also maybe perhaps the products, the manufacturers, the sunscreen, for instance, that we're using now wasn't necessarily as readily available, a few years ago. So we're changing because we're becoming much more sensible and sensitive to what we're doing.
Yeah, the more we know, the better we can do, right?
So I'm told.
So, Gretchen, did you want to talk about some of the local protection that makes such a big impact?
Sure. Well, one of the things that we find has been so important in Little Cayman has been the marine protected areas that have really allowed the fish populations to sustain themselves, and in particular the Nassau grouper population and protection of that spawning ground has just been phenomenal, the turnaround that we've seen in the grouper population. And, extending that protection can have a huge benefit, not just on the ecosystem, but on the economy if you enable these populations to maintain themselves, and we prevent our population from really, overtaking the resource. But in addition, one of the things that we find is that there's this really tight balance between fish and coral and all of the different players in the ecosystem. And so having things like the coral nurseries and outplanting trees can also improve not just the coral population, but also the fish. And then that can in turn improve our tourism product. So, all of these ways that we at CCMI and some of our partners, such as eco divers, are working together to try to promote the resiliency and restore the coral population will ultimately impact the entire ecosystem.
All right. Well, we got one final break of this segment to take, but when we come back, maybe if you're inclined and have time and you think it would be of benefit, we could talk about some of those, coral restoration techniques that you reference, but maybe ask about the notion of carrying capacity, the interdependence of all the things that we're doing relative to the economics, but the enjoyment, the environmental impact, as well as that sort of, engaged consumer, so we're more responsible to what we're doing. Perhaps we could look at some of that after the break.
Great.
When we come back, we're going to learn more. It's not a test, but hey, it's good, strategies to put in play to make us healthy and sustainable. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Fidelity Bank would like to thank all essential workers. We salute your efforts and thank you for the sacrifices you've made to keep us all safe. During these challenging times we're facing, our top priority is the health and safety of the communities we serve. And while it's true that things are changing rapidly every day, one thing that will never change is our commitment to giving you the best and sound financial solutions to help you during and after the coronavirus pandemic. At Fidelity Bank, our focus will always be you. Fidelity, we're good for you.
89.9 Radio Cayman helps you to weather the storm during this hurricane season.
One of the most crucial elements of hurricane preparedness is storm awareness. During the season, it is of utmost importance to pay attention to the latest local weather forecasts, as hurricanes do not suddenly form or strike. There are various methods of advanced notification. Utilizing such may be the difference between a favorable outcome and disaster. Both television and radio serve as excellent mediums with up-to-the-minute storm path information in the wake of a hurricane. Another method of tracking a hurricane may be only arm's length away. Your smartphone or tablet can be your most valuable tool before, during and after a storm, providing countless numbers of apps with crucial hurricane information. Many apps allow you to track storms with moving radar and satellite imagery, plus offer alerts, current conditions, forecasts, advisories, and even video.
This hurricane preparedness tip was brought to you by your community radio station, Radio Cayman 89.9 FM.
The Cayman Islands Regiment is looking for outstanding individuals who want to make a difference, gain unique experiences, and be a part of a team that delivers safety, security, and aid to those in need within the Cayman Islands and across the wider Caribbean region. To find out how to join and what the requirements are, visit www.gov.ky/CI Regiment and apply today. Application deadline is June 21st.
Stop the spread of coronavirus by washing your hands with soap frequently. If none is available, use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Stay at home whenever you can. Avoid close contact with people outside your household by staying a minimum of 6 feet apart and wear a mask while in public. For more information, go to www.gov.ky/coronavirus. The Cayman Islands government wishes to advise the public that they will continue to distribute reusable cloth masks across the Cayman Islands with the assistance of the RCIPS Community Police Officer and Community Safety Officer in your areas. Members of the public living in gated stratas are asked to contact the Community Policing Department at the Georgetown Police Station on 649-4222 to arrange delivery or collection of their mask. Stay safe, Cayman.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. Just a quick reminder at 1 p.m. former Education Minister and Cultural Historian Mr. Roy Borden will be our guest. But right now, truly is a pleasure to continue, understanding and learning more about our environment and our impact. We have the Science, Communications and Development Manager at CCMI, Ms. Beth Chafin, together with the Director of Research, Dr. Gretchen Goodbody, joining us. And I'm really, really glad that both of you have found time to sort of share with us this afternoon. Now, as we look at it, sometimes we take the farmer in particular and seeing how maybe artificial insemination, sometimes even crossbreeding in order to produce a much more resilient animal, or the horticulturists may decide to look, even the botanists, how they can cross-pollinate or graft some of the tree, whether it's a flowering or a fruit. But corals, they always seem to be very delicate, so beautiful. I recall as a child, we were warned sternly, in my view, stay away from the corals. They're fragile. They easily break. So, this was growing up. They were like, more important than crystal and fragile. We never were, allowed to get that close. Never did understand until I was older. But thankfully now I appreciate the sort of wisdom of our parents. But growing corals and that sort of thing. Dr. Gretchen, I mean, this sometimes may have been the themes of science fiction books, but today it's a reality.
It is a reality, and we've been growing corals in the nursery environment now for over a decade, and so we've started to learn some of the tricks of the trade to what makes a coral grow well in our coral nursery. But in addition to that, we've also found that some colonies just do better than others. And we've, had our coral nursery now for quite some time, and we've gone through periods of heat spells. We've had some disease come into the nursery and then go away. And by tracking the corals in our nursery and determining which ones make it through these stressful events, we can then try to promote the reproduction of those individuals and really try to do, just as you said, as people do with farming, we're trying to do this with corals to really start to breed a more resilient, a more robust coral community.
And that's the notion, as you shared, the robust nature, but perhaps, Miss Beth, from that nature, or from that notion, when we think of how we are as a people. Our children, or students in particular in primary schools in the early years, may be much more willing to understand the importance to be sort of engaged as adults. What I say is sometimes it's difficult to get us to change our habits, whether to eat better or to exercise more, even when we know. What is it that you would share with us when we think of, yeah, the science is there that we can do this, but prevention is better than cure, so let's not destroy it in the first place. Let's be more responsible.
Absolutely. I think you make a great point about children. You know, they're like sponges. They'll take all of this information in, and they can see. I think one of the most transformative things that we see when we have students come over to Little Cayman, and they get to go out in the water and snorkel and see the fish and coral, and they learn about ways that they can make a difference, that their family can make a difference. They then become advocates and can go home and talk to their parents and aunts and uncles and cousins. And I think that engaged network of people within this community, I think it's making all the difference. I love hearing you say that, you know, when you were a child, you were taught not to touch the coral, that they were so precious, because they really are. They are fragile for when we think about our impacts, but they're also so strong. When we have healthy reefs, they're strong and they're vital, and we need those healthy reefs to protect this island. So if we take good care of them, they'll take good care of us. And I think that's one of the things that we're always trying to communicate to people, is why we need to take action to protect coral reefs, because it really does come back to benefit us. So all of the education and outreach that we do is based on the research that Dr. Goodbody Gringley and her team do. So it's all taking the work that they're doing in the field and then translating that into information that can impact our daily lives. So our plan for this year is to continue some of the outreach that we've done over the past few years. More of it may be online this year, just due to the changes in our entire way of living. But we do want to just get people interacting and talking and thinking about the oceans and the way that we interact with them.
Well, if I could, and again, perhaps maybe it's an opportunity to extend an invitation for future discussions, but just the education in the classrooms, whether it's the university setting or it's, you know, early years in our primary schools and the like, the teaching, the education, the tools they're going to deploy now are probably going to be, as you shared, you know, more in a virtual realm. Not the same as I would presume you would like your students and your guests to come and physically go in the water and go under the water. Then two things in that respect. How would that necessarily sort of impact us? I mean, we're not physical in the environment, but now we can see the importance of what we're doing. And then secondly, any concerns that those of us who may feel, you know, a little bit more of the cabin fever, want to rush out quickly and just jump in without any concern, you know, the freedom that we may feel, how that mass sort of exodus or entry even into the water without a responsible second thought, and the concerns that they could then end up being more people one time, creating a much more negative impact.
Well, so I think, and Gretchen, you can pick up after this, but my first thought is that yes, as we're shifting things to be more online, I mean, the benefit is that we have some amazing technology that can still make coral and the fish and the underwater world relevant and understandable to people now, because CCMI, for example, does our Reefs Go Live program, where we have our teachers under the water with microphones that are talking to students in classrooms. And I think that allows people, even if you're not able to go to the ocean, even if you're not able to swim or snorkel or dive, you can still see what's going on there, and that interaction brings us closer than we ever have been before. I think, Gretchen, do you have any insight into the idea of people going back to the sea and the impact that might come from that?
Sure. I mean, personally, I think that having the local community want to jump back into the ocean is a wonderful thing, and I think you protect what you know and what you love, and so having a local community that feels strongly about the marine environment because they spend time in it is a really important mechanism for protection. So I would never discourage people from getting into the ocean. I think, take only photographs and don't leave footprints on our coral reefs. So I think being responsible stewards, and going out and, seeing the marine environment but not leaving anything. So making sure you pick up your trash and you don't let your candy bar wrapper fly off the boat or whatnot. So just being responsible visitors in this environment.
And we certainly could never tell people to stay out of the water because we also were so excited to get back in the water.
Yes.
Well, I was just reading a message that came through, and I was trying to correspond with the individual to make sure I did not necessarily misinterpret or misunderstand what was being shared. And the gist of it is that we're seemingly going to be considering very shortly opening up scuba diving and the like. And I think the question that is, as I interpret, has been asked, is that now too soon? Is that something that we would advise in order to be able to assess what's going on? Any particular thoughts on that? If we're, and this is the part I wasn't clear of as well in the message, if we're thinking that our absence has been beneficial, I think the person is sharing, would a little bit longer be even better?
Well, actually, that's one of the things that we're hoping to investigate. So as we start to reopen, CCMI is hopeful that we can monitor the impact that the reopening will have on our reef community. And we think that one of the first things that we'll notice will be the fish, of course, because they can physically move. So I think monitoring how our impact actually does affect the community in the ocean will be really insightful. We've never had the opportunity to go from basically having no one in the water to sort of gradually seeing that increase over time. So I think that that's one thing that we are really hopeful that we can get some great information to guide how we do go through this process moving forward.
All right. Well, the discussion and dialogue leads to more education and interest, and hopefully with that we'll become not just, responsible, but develop very effective responses for our enjoyment today, but for the future sort of well-being of the planet and our oceans in particular. Ms. Beth, any sort of further closing thoughts you may want to leave with our listeners? I mean, it is World Oceans Day.
It is World Oceans Day, and I would just encourage people to take a look. There are actually free online activities going on all day today, so if people want to learn more, the UN is doing an online celebration today. And then I would also ask people to take a look at our website because we do have some exciting information about what it means that Little Cayman has been designated as a hope spot, and information about events and outreach that we have going on, including a lecture that is called Stop Whining, Life as an Ocean Advocate. This will be a webinar done by Ellen Clear, who many people may know. She does reside here and take lots of photographs of the marine environment here and around the world. So we've got that going on. We also have a photography exhibit and auction going on through our website. And like I mentioned, we've got great resources for how people can think about how to reduce their impact, and also educational resources for students who parents are trying to teach at home. They can watch some cool videos about the marine environment, and we've got lesson plans, worksheets, activity sheets that can go with all of that. So there are lots of ways to get involved in the campaign. That we just want to educate people on how we really need healthy reefs.
Indeed. And Dr. Gretchen, some closing comments from you, please.
I just want to say thank you to everyone for tuning in and listening and taking care of our marine environment and doing your part to be a part of the solution.
Well, again, a special thanks for joining us, and hopefully the discussion will not only encourage us to consider the importance of our natural environment, but our individual impact and the little things that we think may be insignificant to realize how important significant they are. If each person does something productive and constructive, be responsible, the collective impact will be immeasurable. So thank you both. Trust and pray you have an excellent week and
Thank you
enjoy.
for having us. We appreciate it.
It's an honor. Little Cayman is a majestic, truly magnificent place. So hopefully more of us get a chance to appreciate and maybe do some things here on Grand Cayman and the BRAC as well to preserve it. All right. To our listeners, going to pause to take a break, go to our news headlines. Honored to be able to welcome Mr. Roy Borden after the break. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have, on the island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm April Cummings. Mixed reviews as Cayman allows restaurants and bars with outdoor patios to open to small groups. While some applauded the measure, others expressed concerns about whether social distancing would be observed. There is no government press briefing today. However, there is one scheduled for Tuesday. If there are COVID-19 results posted today, we'll bring them to you on Radio Cayman News at 6. In international news, hundreds of mourners lined up outside a church in George Floyd's native of Houston for a final public viewing today, as his death 2 weeks ago at the hands of police continued whipping protesters, leaders, and cities around the world into action over demands to address racial injustice and police brutality. The 6-hour public viewing was expected to draw thousands of viewers. Many wore T-shirts with the words, "I can't breathe," as they stood 6 feet apart, pausing briefly to view the casket. Democrats proposed a sweeping overhaul of police oversight and procedures today, a potentially far-reaching legislative response to the mass protests denouncing the deaths of Black Americans in the hands of law enforcement. Before unveiling the package, House and Senate Democrats held a moment of silence at the Capitol's Emancipation Hall, reading the names of George Floyd and others killed during police interactions. They knelt for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, now a symbol of police brutality and violence, the length of time prosecutors say Floyd was pinned under a white police officer's knee before he died. Those are your headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom. I'm April Cummings.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Your voice, your choice, your radio.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. It truly is an honor to once again have the excellent company of Mr. Roy Borden, cultural historian, a former parliamentarian, and educator. Mr. Borden, thank you, sir, for making time to join us this afternoon. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you, Mr. Ebanks. How are you?
I am blessed and highly favored, man. I am very, very grateful and trust and pray that as a nation, we'll continue to give thanks and feel the countless blessings. And I think this is where we can benefit from a discussion with you and people like you, not only because we can become encouraged, but we can become informed, and through that level of education and enlightenment, maybe we can continue to make positive commentary and contributions so that our future generations see the importance of understanding our history, the importance of taking corrective and positive action, and enjoy the beauty and the bounty that we have now. Nothing ventured, nothing gained, they say.
That's what they say. That's what they say.
All right. I was just thinking, well, certainly before, again, you don't know how grateful I am to be able to benefit from your counsel, insight, and wisdom. But before I ask...
It is I who should be humble. And thank you, man.
Yeah. Well, share with us, because I think one other thing that this particular scenario has presented for those of us who have been mindful and have been able to sit and be pensive, not necessarily to engage in any philosophy, but to engage in some constructive dialogue, but some introspective reflection, to think deeply, and to maybe even come up with things that, you know, well, this might be a bad idea. What if we didn't do this? What if we did that? You know, to what does it say? Just tire for a while and reason.
Yeah. Ponder, reason.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
break, 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 break bread, as,
yeah, yeah.
as we say.
But our yes, sir.
Go ahead.
No, yeah, no, good. I was gonna say, our people for some reason have, maybe because we've been so stressed and stretched financially, and have not either had time or didn't feel they could make time to do just that. And now that the world as it is for some has changed in a way that they didn't even imagine was possible. Perhaps there are those who would say, well, this is unprecedented. But rarely is there anything new under the sun. And even if this seems beyond our own comprehension, maybe this is an opportune time to figure out, what is it going to look like when we come out on the other side, whether that's a year from now or a decade, or it may be forever change. How do we make it better? I see some potentially good things that could happen, but I'll be guided by you. I
Well,
also see potentially some very negative things as well.
what has happened, Dwayne, and here, let me put it in a figure of speech. Let me
Mhm.
begin with a metaphorical conclusion. You know, many people prior to post pre-coronavirus would claim that we were living in a paradise in the Cayman Islands, and to an extent, it was paradise for some. Now that the facade has been stripped, and I spoke about in 1978, scratch the facade, and we would see the real Cayman. Now that the facade has been scratched and we see the real Cayman, people understand that it's a plantation. They see the plantation side. So the paradise was only for a few. Those people who could be tourists, the wealthy expatriates, and a few other people of the elite. The rest of us were really living on the plantation, taken up with the day-to-day struggles of life, eking out a livelihood, trying to get an education to uplift ourselves, because that was the promise of education. And now we're realizing that the deck is really stacked against us. I want to begin by one commentary. In the whole world where people have been taken up with this whole business against racism, movement against racism, as a result of what happened to George Floyd, there's no comment in Cayman about that. And today is his funeral in Houston. There's no comment. There is a deafening silence about the whole phenomenon of racism in the world. Racism in Cayman. I suppose there are those who would down swear me to say that it doesn't exist. You know, as a chronicler, I marvel at how tenacious we are and slow to speak of some things. But I notice now from social media and from commentary in the mainstream media that people are becoming more vocal. As the squeeze hits them, as reality steps in, Caymanians are becoming more adept at expressing themselves. Because I don't know if you read my article in response to the Minister of Finance's commentary about the economy.
Yes, sir, I did.
I couldn't let that commentary by the Minister of Finance go unchallenged, Because if you read what he says or reread what he is saying is that we are in for a stark reality, a reality unlike none that we have experienced before. And indeed, I've just come from watching the news. The World Bank predicts that the world economy is going to shrink by 5.2%. Now, last I checked, Cayman was a part of the world and a part of the world economy. So it means that we are going to be faring worse as a developing society. We are going to be faring worse than the developed societies. So a change is going to happen here, unlike anything that we have seen. And how we deal with it will be a testament and a testimony to how smart and prepared we are.
That is the thing that I'm glad that you made the commentary, and perhaps like the absence of anything in our sort of official sort of publications, as it were, or more readily accessible publications. I do recognize that the online portals and platforms, this thing we call social media, may be the domain of some to the exclusion of the others. But in Cayman, we don't seem to openly make public commentary about things, either critiquing it in an academic way, nor analyzing it so that there is a potential discussion. Um, whether it's the Minister of Finance's comments, His Excellency's comments at the press briefings, or the Honorable Premier's, sometimes the public is it that they're unable, are they unwilling, or they just share fearful to say anything? Now, Mr. Borden, from that perspective, if you look at the global sort of assemblies to say that racism and prejudice, the discrimination against people because of their ethnicity and the like, from the Cayman context, maybe, well, your perspective, is that something we see it in Bermuda, we see it in Jamaica and other Caribbean territories, as well as the developed world across Europe and the like, that there is this stand against this egregious behavior in the Cayman context. Any particular sort of perspective from you as to why we may not necessarily be see that absence? Is it a fear that the authorities would quell such a movement and mistake it? Is it that our people don't?
Well, one of the things I noticed that there are only a few of us who come out and speak what I call inconvenient truth. I mean, I have been, from the time I recollect having any intellectual consciousness, I have spoken about the racist element in Caymanian society. And there is no getting away from that, because we were part of the Caribbean. Although we didn't have the plantation economy, we had slavery. And slavery, whether it was, particularly in Cayman, slavery was primarily based on color, as against how it was in the other larger territories where the slave owners were white, wealthy people. In Cayman, we never had any great houses. We never had any sugar estates. And the distinction between slave owners and the slaves in Cayman, whether the slave owners were white, or as I call them, near white, and the slaves were black. So racism had to have existed. And the Cayman Islands is a pigmentocracy, whether we want to accept it or not. The lighter you are, the closer to the top you are. And that's just the way it was in the larger Caribbean. The larger West Indian societies were mainly pigmentocracies. The blacker you were, the closer to the bottom rung you were. But the reason Caymanians don't speak about it is because they find it inconvenient. inconvenient for a number of reasons, not the least of which, if they speak out, they'll get victimized. And the second thing is, racism as it exists here is more subtle, what I call sub rosa, under the table. But it exists. And if you read my writings, good heavens, no one can convince me otherwise. Because even the family that I come from, which is like in a Caymanian family, probably mixed, right? There were racial nuances in my own family. And anyone who reads my book, From Guardhouse to the Glass House, I have an anecdote there that speaks to it in my own family, the racial nuance in my own family. And my family was not atypical. My family was a typical modern town, typical Caymanian family, right? So
Yes.
I don't need any more convincing proof than that. The difference between me and a lot of other people is I had the consciousness from the beginning. And in my story, I tell about how my mother, a Caymanian of the diaspora, who was born and raised in Cuba, taught us, her children, about blackness, because she was exposed to Marcus Garvey and the teachings of the Universal Negro Improvement Association. So I knew about color, and I knew about the racial nuances in Cayman as well as in the world before I left home, and it rang home to me. And in some of my writings, I talk about the Bakra people because that's what the black people call the whites and their whites. They call them Bakras, a contemptuous term. In the same way that the white people call the black people nigger, the black people call the white people Bakras.
Oh, Mr. Bott, we do have a caller joining us, and let's see if we can engage our listeners and continue this discourse. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for calling.
Good afternoon, Dwayne.
Afternoon, man. How are you, my friend?
Okay, and good afternoon to Honorable Mr. Roy Borden.
Good afternoon, sir.
Mr. Borden, I have a question.
Yeah?
If you were given an opportunity to be a member of the Legislative Assembly for just 4 years, what motions would you bring to the floor of the House that you think are very important at this time in the Cayman Islands? Thank you.
Well, the answer for that comes easily. In 2004, I left a labor law. It was one of the best pieces of legislation, barring none, ever crafted in these islands. Indeed, it was so comprehensive that it had the support of the then progressives, the same people that are the government now. Their vote allowed that labor law to pass. The law was accepted. What happened? It was supposed to have gone to cabinet for the governor's assent. The progressives thought that it was too modern and wouldn't bring it for the governor's assent. And the rest, they say, is history. I would recommend anyone who is interested get that piece of legislation and read it because it's still available. And if they can't get copies anywhere else, I have copies. I'd gladly give them a copy. Because I think one of the things that is hindering the development in our society, including the development of democracy in Caymanian society, is that we have an unfair system of hiring, an unfair and an antiquated labor system which is prejudiced against Caymanians.
Oh, Mr. Borden, with us, that sort of, notion and almost seemingly acceptance by the populace, but a blind eye towards implementation. We are hearing, for instance, I'll give you just two examples. if a Caymanian now is applying for government assistance, the paperwork is 3, 4, 5 pages. A person on a work permit applying for similar assistance, it may be a page long with, hardly any information being requested.
But
we also hear that when it comes to foreign workers coming back to Cayman, it's this notion of unemployment that is weakening the society, but great steps are being made to bring back workers as opposed to employ those that are now been displaced.
But, Mr. Moderator, there should be no question. These people who come on work permits should have no right to apply for any government assistance. They don't qualify. They're not citizens of the country, so they don't qualify. Let me tell you, and I speak from experience as a Caymanian who emigrated and lived in another jurisdiction. You have no right to that kind of thing unless you're a citizen of the country. I left here and went to Canada. There are certain employments that I was exempt from applying for. I couldn't work for the federal government because I wasn't a citizen. I wasn't a citizen of Canada, so there's certain jobs I couldn't get. And you know what the situation was? If you were on a work permit, working for somebody, and when that work permit was up for some reason, you to get another work permit, you had to leave the country and reapply. You couldn't just stay in and go to work for. If you were working for X, you couldn't just stay in and go to work for Y. There was a requirement that you leave, you exit, apply, and then when the permit was granted, you return. So I don't see how people come here and work permits can be competing against Caymanians for advantages that should only be for Caymanians. Hello?
Yes, sir. And I was just
It's like the old American Express ad used to say, rank has its privileges. So the privileges belong exclusively to the Caymanian citizens. So people here who are on work permits, for whatever reason, the company closed down either temporarily or permanently, those people should have to go. They should have to exit Cayman. They shouldn't be allowed to remain here to apply for assistance from the NAU or any other government agency in competition with Caymanians.
And with the limited financial resources that may be available, I want to ask you perhaps more about that and maybe the way we've selected or selectively looked at arranging the ability for some to fly and others not to. But we do have another caller. Let's join that caller. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Sterling.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Mr. Borden.
Good afternoon.
You know who this is, right?
I would have no idea, ma'am.
You kidding now. You kidding?
Oh, now I'm getting the voice. But you have to understand I'm way in the country in Bordentown.
Oh my God! Listen to me. No, we is in good distance apart. I'll tell you that. Listen, every time I hear you, no, I missed the first part of the call. I was trying to put some seeds in pots. Okay, because my hands are still good. I'm sorry I missed the first part, but when I came back inside, I only had one radio on today, and then here Mr. Borden. You were talking and talking. Oh, the smile. If you could see my smile, you would say, that's the lady that I know.
Wow. You're making me feel good.
You know what I mean? Or I should say no of, okay?
Right.
When you were answering the gentleman that called, yeah, everything you said there was so... Caymanians are left behind by district government, and I don't care who like it now or not, but I got to say what I need to say. And you know that I can be, like the young ones say, straight up. I can be straight up as possible. And listen, another thing you was talking about you have copies of something. I would love to get a copy of that too. But don't think that I forgot about where I asked you to reserve 2 of your latest series. That you are going to be signing at the same day of my daughter's birthday. it's not that I forgot about them, and you said I must consider it being done. One for me, one for her. But then here, because the coin came in, I gave her an early birthday present and myself a late birthday present. But I still want your books. I still need to have them.
Consider it done. Consider it done. And just as soon as conditions ease up, I just tell me how I can get them to you, and free of for gratis you have them.
Okay. And you still have some of the other series too. But it is a few that I didn't really get. You still have some of those other ones too.
Yeah, I have all of them, and then and all the time I'm writing some more.
I know you're not stopping because you're the paper man. a pen and paper. And that gift that I gave you, the gift that I gave you helps you out a lot too, right?
Yeah.
It helps you out a lot, right?
Yes.
You don't have to look too much. You just gotta lift the pages and go about your business.
Right.
Yes, Mr. Borden. It's like I'm still smiling, I'm not grinning. I'm smiling.
That's great.
Grinning and smiling and laughing and all that stuff is different.
You said you were putting some seeds in a pot. I have to commend you for that because that's our future.
Some seeds in pot.
Future. Yeah, we are going to have to resort to that. We are going to have to resort to that. We are going to have to be in a position where we can feed ourselves, because if all we have to do is to depend on things that are imported, many days we are going to be not only disappointed, but we're going to be starving.
Drinking porridge.
This is a different world now.
I know.
This is a different world.
And the thing about it is that it's not a pot in a pot, but I'm trying some older seeds to see if they would work. But then I also have some fresh ones. Listen, would you like to have some cassava sticks?
No, I have lots of that.
You have lots of that too?
I have lots of that, thank you. I have lots of that, thank you.
You don't only have cows and stuff like that, but you got your other stuff too. You got your ground going too.
That is exactly right.
And okay, I'm going to end it here and tell Ms. Borden hi for me. And I know that you all are staying safe. Okay?
Yeah, we are.
I can end it now, and I'll make you know whenever it's possible that I could either get to you or you get to me.
Thank you.
Yes,
thank you. Consider it done.
Consider it always done.
All right. Thank you.
I'm Sterling.
Yes, ma'am.
I need to tell him one more thing. Remember, I got to pick his memory. Do you remember the little UCCI student that was sent to Australia?
Yes.
The one you call the traveler?
Yes.
She with her being a cadet, she has been a sergeant now for quite some time. But then with her being still a cadet, she was doing split shifts up at the GAB, Government Administration Building.
Okay.
With the NEOC, but she started on Saturday she started back on her job at the Ritz-Carlton.
Okay.
Yep. And
okay.
Mr. Dodd gave him a good package, so he's taking them back now.
I'm happy to hear that. Hear that.
And she is also still doing her online schooling. She's working up on her bachelor's.
That's great.
Yeah, because she changed of going overseas. I gotta bring this up now. She changed of going overseas and started doing here, but then now she's been doing it online. And the reason for her changing it is because my mother is everybody's mama. Still, she passed away. My mama passed away on the 23rd of April.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah, but that's okay. I had it for over 69 years.
Okay.
She passed away at 91 years, 2 months, 2 weeks, and 1 day.
Wow.
So I don't know if we're going to reach there or not, but we're going to have to try.
We'll try.
Right? Take care. So take care now.
God bless, ma'am.
God bless. God bless. Great to hear from you as usual. God bless.
Hey, thank you. Blessings. Now, Mr. Barton, we just pause for a short break, but perhaps, your reference to food security, and if it's okay, we can maybe talk more as you started out initially
Yeah,
speaking about
sure.
and the Finance Minister's report. All right, to our listeners, we have the excellent company of Mr. Roy Barton, so please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Social distancing is crucial for our community to get back to normal. And never before has communication been so crucial. Keeping in touch with family, friends, and up to date requires you to stay in touch. Green Turtle offers the solution for both. Download the Green Turtle app now. Top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination in Cayman. Phones delivered to your home, and with the new rewards program, you can even redeem points towards a new phone and other products. Download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Hashtag Stay Home Cayman. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile, saving lives today.
The Wharf restaurant is back open to the public. After donating over 20,000 meals during the lockdown, we are energized and proud to have been able to help. Book your waterfront reservations today and enjoy live music while watching the sunset on our spacious and breezy terrace. The Wharf has fresh fish and fresh local produce options every day, as well as an extensive wine list. We are family and kid-friendly with a kids menu and type and feeding every night. We are looking forward to welcoming you back. Call 949-2231 to book your table today at The Wharf.
Headlines.
With the latest headlines.
Headlines.
One of Cayman's bright and shining young stars. Local, regional, international.
Headlines.
Turning to international news. Updates on the hour between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. on weekdays. All the news when you want it. Tune in to Radio Cayman for hourly headlines of the day's top stories.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Dealing with this outbreak can be overwhelming, especially for those of us with mental health challenges. As a teenager, you can practice mindfulness by meditating or continuing to take your prescribed medication. You can also protect your mental health outlook during the global pandemic by limiting the amount of social media and news you watch, staying active and resting. If you or a friend is coping with mental health challenges, call the Mental Health Helpline for free and confidential advice at 1-800-534-MIND. That's 1-800-534-6463. Weekdays from 9 to 5. For the latest information, visit www.gov.ky/coronavirus.
Although the hard and soft curfew is limiting for older persons who may be missing their usual outings with family and friends, Captain Paul Hurlston of Georgetown says he's lived through more stringent privations and thinks his generation is often more self-reliant than the younger generation.
I'm doing fine. I'm keeping busy, digging up out in the yard. I try to keep active and obey all the rules. But this is nothing strange to me because, the 1944 hurricane, I've been through that. I was 13 years of age at then. Then I went through Gilbert. I went through Ivan. And now this. It's not affecting me. I'm old-fashioned, I don't have any credit card, no WhatsApp, none of the modern equipment, so I'm doing very well.
If you or someone you know needs assistance, call the Older Persons Helpline at 1-800-534-2222 today for free and confidential support. This message was brought to you by the Department of Children and Family Services.
Honey, our fridge has stopped working again. Everything in the freezer is melting. We need to get this repaired right away. I'm calling Brand Source Service.
When you need the very best appliance service, call Brand Source Service at 623-5000. Offering service and installation of all brands and models of appliances. Brand Source Service is Cayman's source for appliance parts and repairs with qualified and experienced technicians and the island's largest stock of appliance parts. Brand Source Service will have your repair completed in a flash. So, whatever the problem is, call the experts at 623-5000. Brand Source Service, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Telephone 623-5000.
Hi, my name is Neraya LeBlanc. I am the minister and evangelist to the West Bay Church of Christ on 24 Batabano Road. I would love to take this opportunity to invite you to experience God's family at West Bay for yourself. We are a caring congregation that strongly believes in reaching out beyond ourselves to spread the gospel of Christ. We also take great pleasure in ministering to the needs of our people in our community. As God's called out kingdom people, we are in the business of transforming lives for the Master's use. For more information, you can visit our website at westbaycichurchofchrist.org or call us at 946-9294 or 917-1809.
Declaring the word of the Lord. Cayman Islands Church of Christ presents Word of the Lord.
Word of the Lord, heard Sundays at 6:30 p.m. on Radio Cayman.
Home, which should be a haven, can even be less of a safe space during curfew if someone is experiencing child abuse. If you or anyone you know is being abused, help is nearby. For emergencies, call 911. They will redirect your call to the relevant agencies. For general guidelines and inquiries, call the Multi-Agency Safeguarding Hub, MASH, at 1-800-534-2273 or 945-0545. Alternatively, email mash@gov.ky.
I've got some beautiful clothes.
Puritan Cleaners is pleased to announce the opening and closing hours of their 2 branches. Now open 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Mondays to Saturdays, Savannah Countryside, 946-1884. Arboretum Plaza, Elgin Avenue, 949-2452 will be opened until 2 p.m. on Saturdays. These hours will be in place while we monitor customers' demands after reopening. Also, seamstress on duty to do your repairs and adjustments. Our main store, 337 Eastern Avenue, Georgetown, will be opened from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Mondays to Saturdays. Telephone 949-7104. Any input from our customers will be much appreciated. Puritan Cleaners, you feel good when you look good. The Passport and Corporate Services Office will open 2 days a week, Wednesday and Thursdays, starting on June 10th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Persons whose passports have returned from HMPO will be called and asked to come and collect. However, new applications will not be accepted at this time. Persons are asked to come in on last name letter days, wear a face covering, and maintain social distancing measures. If you require further information or have questions, call 943-7678.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. And again, a very special thanks to Mr. Roy Borden for spending some of the afternoon. Sir, very, very grateful to you, not just for your time, but for your input. So we do have a caller join us before we continue discussion. Let's join our caller. Good afternoon. Welcome. Yes, hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Hello.
Hi. Welcome, Mom. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I don't usually call your show, as you're aware.
Yes, Mom, but we're honored that you would.
To Mr. Borden as well. I noticed he's brought up the labor law.
Good afternoon, Madam Speaker. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine, thank you. We live in the same district, but we're really socially distancing because I don't see you.
I was just listening to Captain Paul.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like him. This shelter in place and lockdown has not been an inconvenience for me. Indeed, I have adjusted very well, and I have used it to the best of my ability. I have finished some short stories that I set out to write some time ago, and I'm working on a volume of poetry, among other things. So thank God, that I have been busy and not inconvenienced in the least.
Well, as I have said, I am alone, but I'm not lonely. I'm used to being alone.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to raise a couple
I,
of issues.
Madam Speaker,
Yes.
I was thinking about you because I'm working on a major project of which you are the absolute best person to do me a favor, and when I'm ready, I shall be calling upon your services. I'll tell you what it is. I want to write a memoir about my mother, whom I call the village warrior, and so I can ask you publicly. I want you to write the foreword in this memoir, and it's a work that I poured my soul into because I want to submit it in an international competition and hope that it might be of the caliber to win me a prize or some form of international recognition. So I will say we shall be in touch, God willing.
Well, we shall be. But I guess I every time that they have the press briefing, I make it my business to listen. And there were two very disturbing statements on the last press briefing. Had nothing to do with COVID-19. A reporter raised a query about people who had applied for Caymanian status. When they were going to hear about this, because they wanted to be sure they got it so they could vote in the next election. The Premier's reply was that they had plenty of time to register for the next election, but considering the fact that they are owed millions of dollars, and that was the word he used, millions of dollars in permanent residence fees. Anyone who had applied for Caymanian status and in that position would not be considered. I want to know, why is it that there are people in this country who have not paid their permanent residence fees and are still on this island?
Well,
when you are granted permanent residence, you are granted it for a specific purpose and a specific time. It is given to you after being here, after allowing you for being here so many years on a work permit. With it comes a lot of privileges. You can open your own business. Your children and your family is entitled to share in the benefits of your having permanent residence. All you're required to do is to pay your fees every year. If there are millions of dollars owed to this government by persons who have not paid their permanent residence fees, then I think it is time to give them a ticket off this island. It is not only a sign of disrespect and impunity that you are here reaping the benefits of this country, education, health, and everything else that goes with it, the ability to open a business in competition as a Caymanian, and you have not paid your fees? How in the world did you get the temerity to apply for Caymanian status? What kind of citizen are you going to make in my community? When if I drive down the road and I don't have my driver's license and my insurance in my car, I am going to get charged. How is it? We're talking about labor. How is it that we have allowed such a situation to develop in this community? We did it going back a few years with the and Mr. Barton will know this, and Mr. Ebanks should remember it, with the hotels. The hotels were collecting fees.
Yes, ma'am.
Who came here, a tax that they added to their hotel bill. But they didn't pay it into government like they were supposed to do. And when they wanted to leave, they either declared bankruptcy and left, or they sold their business without even telling government and took off, and government was left holding that bill too. You know, when are we going to wake up? And don't tell me like they tell us about the pension bill or pension law, all the different people who have scoffed at that and have defrauded, is the correct word, persons who have paid their pensions in, but they have not paid it into the pension fund, and you take them before the court of the law, is lacking in the ability to prosecute. Really? All of these years? What are we doing? What kind of society are we building? And what kind of legacy are we leaving for our children when persons who come here, and I welcome everybody who's here, provided they abide by the laws of my country. I welcome them.
Madam
If
Speaker.
they come here illegally, I welcome them as long as they abide by the laws of my country and they do what I have to do and whatever Caymanian has to do, they pay their dues. And I think it is an affront to this country for you to live here, to be granted the privileges of permanent residence, and not pay your fees, and then have the temerity to apply to Caymanian status. No, we don't need you on our voters list. I am sorry. We do not need you on your voters list because you've already shown us you don't have the makings of a good citizen. And that is my take for this afternoon. Thank you all very much.
Madam Speaker, you're absolutely right. We should demand, we the law-abiding citizens, and particularly those of us whom I describe as established Caymanians by virtue of our ancestral privileges and by virtue of the number of the years that our ancestors settled here and built this place, we should demand to know who these people are. We should demand their identities. And further, we should take it a step further. We should demand that our government summarily have planes ready to transport these people back to their original jurisdictions because we do not need them here. If they are that dishonest, we do not need them here. They have no business here. And again, I speak from experience. When I left here and immigrated to Canada, I had a certain time to establish myself. The immigration called me and gave me a certain time to establish myself. I had to be in the jurisdiction on a certain date. I had an appointment for an interview on a date and a specific hour of the morning. I had to show up. And one of the things I was unequivocally made to understand is that you have to abide by the laws of this country. If you so much as exceed the speed limit and are charged, that is grounds for us to negate your privileges here. So these people, I am chagrined. I am angered at that. And I say that these people, what the government should do is round them up, put them on a plane, buckle their seatbelts, and send them back from whence they came. We do not need them here, and certainly as Caymanians, we do not want them here.
Well, any country, going back now, and this is one of the blessings of living as long as I have, the Caymanian Protection Law was unequivocal about it. You could not gain Caymanian status if you were here on a work permit. There were two ways you could get it.
Exactly, and that should be the case until now.
You could get it because you had inherited it, or you could get it if you could afford to come here and live here without being a cost on the Cayman Islands government. They only gave 12 a year of those kinds, okay? That was the law. That has been watered down and watered down and watered down and watered down so that everybody who comes here now and on a work permit is supposed to be accumulating time towards Caymanian status. No other country that I know of
does it that way. No other country does it that way.
I know of does that.
No other country does it that way.
If you go into the United States on a work permit, it is a limited entry and you leave when it's over.
That's right.
You cannot accumulate time towards getting a green card. The green card is a privilege separate and apart. Okay? Now, of course, we like to look to them for examples, but it is the same everywhere else. My daughter went to work in England, and, she had to leave the country to get a work permit. She was married to an Englishman, and she was working for a law firm. She had to leave England and come home for 3 weeks while her application the company's application for her work permit was being considered.
But
When
of course,
she went back, it was supposed to have been done, and because they'd been notified, it would be done in 3 weeks. She got to the airport. They told her, sorry, you're not in the system. She explained to them she had been told, showed them her letter. They checked, yes, it had been granted, but they could not put that in her passport because it had not yet come down to the immigration services. She then had to leave the island and leave London and go to Denmark and come back in from there when it was ready to be placed. It was at the immigration gate, ready to be placed on her passport. How is it that we have wandered so far from the straight and narrow that we are now condoning people coming here and treating us with such disdain and such impunity?
I can tell you why.
You know,
I can tell you why.
God, if I owe you some money and I can't afford to pay you, it'd be something for me to do is to come to you and say, Mr. Borden, I can't meet my financial obligations to you. Can you give me time to pay it? Can I pay it to you in installments? Whatever it is. But don't make it go year after year after year until, and I'm quoting the Premier, millions of dollars are owed to this country. Money that we could use right now to help them out and to help our own people out. Millions of dollars are owed to our people, to this country, to this government, by persons who have not paid their permanent residence fees. It is an utter disgrace.
Well, the question I would,
like I said, I don't ring any bells about what I have to say. I welcome everybody here. I could answer my phone now, and they can't do it now because, of course, they got to go into lockdown. And one of my children will call and say, no, Miss So-and-so is coming down to the island. We've given them your address. Can you accommodate them? Can you take them here? Yes, I do all of that. But I don't expect to be treated by people, by persons who are in my country with such disdain for my laws and with such impunity. You know, what is amazing, that while they were on a work permit, somebody was paying that work permit for them. Now it has become incumbent on them to pay their permanent resident fees, and they haven't paid it. But they've applied for Canadian status because they want to vote in the next election.
Wow.
Pardon me.
Wow.
Those were the statements on the air in the last press briefing on Friday. And it's time for us to wake up. It is time for us to wake up, and it's time for us to tell our government, the 19 of them that is sitting in that house, they are at the privilege and the pleasure of the Caymanian voter. It is time for us to tell them that we cannot allow such things to continue in our society. Any Caymanian that is owed government anything is hauled before the court. Caymanian students coming back to this island to look for a job got to go to immigration to get a letter saying they're Caymanian before they can apply for a little two-bit job in somebody's business, packing groceries or something else. And then we have people here who, oh no, I tell you, that has bothered me so much since I heard that on Friday that I have been totally.
Well, you know the reason why. One of the reasons why that can be so is because some of those people are entrenched in positions where they make decisions determining the future not only of persons like them, but of Caymanians, which is another thing that galls me, that I drew reference to. You can't have certain jobs unless you're citizens of the country. So there should be people, if you're not a citizen, you shouldn't be on the front line, you shouldn't be an immigration officer, or you shouldn't be a customs officer, because you can't, in the United States and Canada, you cannot hold those kinds of positions. Indeed, you can't work for the civil service. You can't work for the National Civil Service if you're not a citizen of the country. So we should have those kinds. And then when those of us who are conscientious scream, they tell us, well, we have an entitlement mentality. Of course, we have an entitlement mentality, and I encourage any.
I said on Friday, this is my home. When you come here, when you are invited here, when you are allowed to come here, I have rules in my house that I expect you to abide by. And the person who comes here, and I'm sorry, this might be putting it rather starkly, but the person who comes to this island and commits a crime goes to Northwood, but the person who comes here and defrauds the country applies to Caymanian status. That is what I call really, really an insult.
It would not be allowed, not even in the creation of crabs, let alone at any other time. These people should be rounded up.
I came on saying pushing around.
Yeah, they should be rounded up, summarily deported with no notice. Someone should just knock on the door, even if it's in the middle of the night, and say, "Come."
No,
they're been here too long.
They, in truth, in fact, they're overstairs.
Of course,
If you are on a work permit, and that work permit has not been paid, and you are working here, you're considered an overstayer, and you are put on a flight and told that you have to leave. But you are on permanent residence, and you haven't paid. What are you then? Aren't you an overstayer? Aren't you here without the privilege of the law behind you? It's a legal mind to work this through.
I agree with you. I agree with you, madam.
And it is time for us. I said on Friday, and I say it again. We have people in this community who have stepped up to help out, and I truly appreciate it. I appreciate it just like I appreciate our own, like that have done, try to make their supermarkets and all the rest of it safe for Caymanians and for residents and for everybody else to go to. I appreciate all of the efforts that have been done in this dilemma that we're in now, this COVID-19 pandemic. I appreciate all the help we've been given, but it is time to call out these people now. And when, like I said, when it was stated on the air that they were anxious to get their work permit, their Caymanian status, so they could register to vote in the next election. Really? That is really, really taking it too far for me. Really taking it too far. And I think government needs to start looking into it and just moving people on. If they have not paid their bills and they cannot pay it, then it is time for them to move on.
I would think so.
Certainly, they should not be allowed to apply for status in this country.
Well, they should be. They should have to leave.
That's the ultimate gift that we give to people, and it is a gift and it's a privilege. And
they should have to leave
very sparingly and to very well vetted persons.
They should have to leave.
If you're the gardener out in the yard or the banker in the halls of finance. There is a certain level of integrity that we welcome into this community, and it should apply across the board to everyone.
Well, it is no wonder that they
get off the phone and you can get back to your program with Dwayne Ebanks.
No, Mom, that's very much appreciative of you always calling and sharing. We have a WhatsApp message that says, agree with both of your comments on the PR issue. And the question is asked whether we know if people who do not pay, whether their PR can be revoked for non-payment.
Whether they want?
Their permanent residency can be revoked for non-payment.
Well,
is that?
If it can't be revoked for non-payment, it should be in the law. I don't know what the law says in regard to that. That may be one of those law full of holes, like the one with the pension law, where you couldn't force them to pay the pension in, even when you took them to court. Well, I don't know what the situation is on the law because I haven't researched the law. I can't get out to do that in the position I'm in now.
Mm-hmm.
But if it is not in the law, it should be a given. Certainly, like I said, if I applied for a work permit for you, Mr. Ebanks, and I went to the immigration board and I got the work permit, and I didn't pay those fees in, they're coming to me and you all too.
Exactly.
They're
And
coming
it
to
should be
both of us.
it should be the same
way.
way.
Because I am employing someone illegally. Since I haven't paid the fees, it's illegal. And you are being employed illegally because even if you don't know that the fees have not been paid, and you might not know, although it's supposed to be stamped in your passport when the fees are paid, if you haven't gotten your passport back, and some people are afraid to ask for their passport back to see what it says, if you haven't gotten your passport back with a stamp saying that you have been given a work permit for whether it's 1, 2, or whatever years they give it to you for, then you need to start talking to your employer and finding out, because the bottom line is you will have to leave this island if you have not met the immigration law with regard to the payment of your work permit fees. You know, nobody, people's employers in this island have to pay their work permit fees. Have to pay their work permit fees. So what is it? When the same people that they're paying those fees for end up with Caymanian residents, they are supposed to pay the fees. What is it that they're being allowed to walk around owing the government millions of dollars?
Yes, ma'am.
How many people are out there on permanent residents who have not paid? These questions need to be asked and they need to be answered. How many people are out there?
How many? And who are they? And who are they? And who are they?
But
Not
you know,
only
there
how
was
many,
a time here.
but who are they?
There was a time here when the pages in the newspapers every week had the pictures of people who had applied for Caymanian status. Do you remember that?
That's right. That's
When
right.
the public had the right to look and say, wait a minute, I know that person.
We don't need so and so.
You know, and they could write their comment in. What we got away from that. These people are faceless now in the community. They're faceless. We are talking about building up the population of the Cayman Islands. Well, I guess we kind of slow down that plan right now because we don't have anything to do. But we've been talking about doing that for some time. In fact, this country was on a banana peel. It was going so fast. Bringing more people in to do more of that. You know, it's just mind-boggling. Now these things go on and on and on, and it's time to put a stop to it. This is a good time for us. I had a young friend in the States that wrote in a Facebook comment. She says that she was talking. In fact, she had beautiful pictures of the lakes and the return of the wildlife and all the rest of it. And she wrote that. She made a statement. She says, the world is resetting itself. Well, this is a good time for us to reset ourselves. This is a good time to decide what we need, who we need, and what we are going to do to prepare our own people. We are in a pandemic now. Education is schools are supposed to be starting. What provisions are being made to keep those premises ready for Caymanian students, or for students, all students who are going to be going there? Have we put in sanitizers? Have we put in extra basins? What are we doing? What kind of protocols are being put in place to accommodate? And this is not too soon to ask. This is June, the middle of June coming up, and schools are supposed to be open in August.
Yes, ma'am.
What are the things that are being done? The high school that is in Georgetown, that has been in the bush there for the last 12 years, are we going to make an attempt to get it finished, if not in time for September, in time for January? Do we have a goal post set for education to move it forward? What are we doing? The campus at the John Gray High School is almost condemned years ago. I know, I work there, I know the size of those classrooms, I know how inconvenient it is. You can put as much paint as you want on it, it cannot make it into classrooms that we should be having for children now. But granted all of that, where are we going to put the children who are coming forward to go to school in September or in August? Where are we going? How are we going to accommodate them? What are the protocols? We need to know. We need to answer these questions now. Government is going to have to.
Indeed.
We're opening the country back up now. We're talking about opening the airport in September, although the Premier is hesitating on that, considering what is out there that might come here. But if we're working towards that, if that's the goal for us we've set, to bring people back into the challenge, what provisions are we making to cope with the influx of people who will be coming here? Because this is a preferred destination. Once Cayman opened up, we couldn't fly the planes in here fast enough. they are going to come. Where are we going to put them? And what are the protocols we're putting in place? These are things we need to be talking about now. And it is time for us. It is time for us. And everybody can do their part, but everybody needs to know what is being done. I can't come up to your house and start putting painting the outside of your house if I don't know you want the outside of your house painted. You know, we've got to be real about what we're doing, and we've got to involve everybody in it. And we have, in the Eastern District, we have 6 independent legislators. They need to get together. They need to call the people. Whether they Zoom it or however to get it done, they need to tell the people what are they going to be doing for the end of the silence. What are they going to be doing? And the relationship between government and the opposition, there shouldn't be any gap in there right now, because all 19 of them should be working with one goal in mind. I tell you what government is doing, you tell me where I can help, and we move forward to move the country forward. Because this is no time for political division. We are too small, and this economy is too fragile, and our people are too much at risk not to take the bold steps that we need to take now to make this, reset the clock for this country and make it what all of us want. Someplace that my children are going up and gone, but your children, great-grandchildren, and everybody else can be proud to pass on to the next generation as the heritage, the qualitative heritage that we receive.
Well, Ms. Mary,
that's what
thank
our job
you.
is. Our job is not to hold it and to use it. Our job is to preserve it and pass it.
Thank you very much,
I'm
Ms.
really
Mary.
going now, Mr. Ebanks. I didn't intend to.
No, ma'am.
All of this time. But we will
I
talk,
think-
Mr. Gardner, on your...
Yes, sir, Michelle, God willing.
Okay.
Certainly welcome your input, ma'am, and I apologize that sometimes these breaks, but they are what they are. But thank you, ma'am. God bless, and thank you for the candid, honest, forthright, and certainly most respectable manner which you shared. So, Mr. Borden, after the break, we'll resume. Thank you, sir, for sharing with us.
Okay.
Social distancing is crucial for our community to get back to normal. And never before has communication been so crucial. Keeping in touch with family, friends, and up to date requires you to stay in touch. Green Turtle offers the solution for both. Download the Green Turtle app now. Top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination in Cayman. Phones delivered to your home, and with the new rewards program, you can even redeem points towards a new phone and other products. Download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Hashtag Stay Home Cayman. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile, saving lives today.
Community radio with a different appeal. The voice of the people. Security through adversity. Stuck on you. Radio for all time.
You're listening to Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Your 2 p.m. headlines brought to you by greenturtle.ky. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app, the future of mobile, saving lives today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have here on Island.
Generations present. Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm April Cummings. For children and young people under the age of 18 who need someone to talk to during this pandemic, the Kids Helpline has expanded its hours. They're now open Monday to Friday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. The number to call is 345-649-KIDS or 649-5347. In international headlines, the U.S. economy entered a recession in February, a group of economists declared today, ending the longest expansion on record. The economist said employment peaked in February and then fell sharply afterward, marking the beginning of the recession. Britain began imposing a 14-day quarantine today on travelers coming into the country, months after other European countries imposed similar measures to control the spread of the coronavirus. The quarantine was roundly criticized by aviation and tourism industries, with many questioning its timing. Critics say its introduction has come too late to be useful, and some doubted it could be effectively enforced. All passengers, bar a handful of exceptions like truckers or medical workers, will be asked to fill in a form detailing where they will self-isolate for 2 weeks and must give a phone number so authorities can check up on them. The requirement applies whether they are UK citizens or not, and those who fail to comply could be fined. The quarantine was imposed after a heated debate on whether it would help British efforts to tamp down the UK outbreak, or simply stamp out hopes that the British tourism industry will recover following months of lockdown. Those are your headlines. From Radio Cayman's newsroom, I'm April Cummings.
Social distancing is crucial for our community to get back to normal. And never before has communication been so crucial. Keeping in touch with family, friends, and up-to-date requires you to stay in touch. Green Turtle offers the solution for both. Download the Green Turtle app now. Top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination in Cayman. Phones delivered to your home, and with the new rewards program, you can even redeem points towards a new phone and other products. Download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Hashtag Stay Home Cayman. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile, saving lives today.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Your voice, your choice, your radio.
Don't let the stress of taking care of loved ones get you down.
Home care, now made easier with Cayman Medical Supplies. 100% Caymanian owned. Cayman Medical Supplies now stocks a wide range of home care supplies. Hospital beds, all types of wheelchairs, including beach access wheelchairs, lifts, commodes, shower chairs, walkers, Curad brand orthopedic supplies, free blood glucose monitors with the purchase of 1 pack of test strips, blue underpads, and a whole lot more.
Need home care convenience? Drop by Cayman Medical Supplies at 93 Smith Road, Windward Center, or call 949-6211. Free delivery.
We know there has been a lot of changes, and Cayman Medical Supplies is here for the community. From gloves and sanitizers to mandatory supplies, including masks. Hours are now Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. till noon. Free delivery island-wide.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
I have various items coming from different suppliers that I need to ship to Cayman. Do you offer consolidation?
Yes. Seaboard Marine offers consolidation for full and less than container loads. We can hold your packages at our Miami warehouse until everything arrives and ship it all in one go. And we have the best rates to Grand Cayman. Visit seaboardmarine.com for more information.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
We are here for you. Whether you are in extreme financial need, have lost your job, have been directly or indirectly affected by the pandemic, we are here. The Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan is here to assist through the Cayman Islands Government Emergency Withdrawal Program. To withdraw, visit chamberpension.ky and complete the online application form by filling in your personal details, the amount you wish to withdraw, and upload a notarized government ID such as your passport or driver's license. For information as it happens, visit chamberpension.ky or follow our social media pages on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Email admin@pensions.ky or call 745-7630. We thank you for your patience as we address the high volume of email and phone queries. The Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. You can count on us.
Headlines.
With the latest headlines.
One of Cayman's bright and shining young stars.
Local, regional, international.
Headlines.
Turning to international news. Updates on the hour between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. on weekdays. All the news when you want it. Tune in to Radio Cayman for hourly headlines of the day's top stories.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
You know, when we look back at our teens, quite often we come to appreciate our parents' efforts to keep us safe. What was restrictive then becomes sound reasoning as an adult. The current curfews are much the same. Temporary restrictions for our community with your long-term health and welfare in mind. We will mature through these challenging times and emerge stronger. Stay responsible now so that our future can be bright. Hashtag Stay Home Cayman.
Social distancing is crucial for our community to get back to normal. And never before has communication been so crucial. Keeping in touch with family, friends, and up to date requires you to stay in touch. Green Turtle offers the solution for both. Download the Green Turtle app now. Top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination in Cayman. Phones delivered to your home, and with the new rewards program, you can even redeem points towards a new phone and other products. Download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Hashtag Stay Home Cayman. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile, saving lives today.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you for joining us, and a special thanks to Mr. Roy Bowden. Sir, you're not only an honorable gentleman, very distinguished, but certainly very amenable with your time. So thanks for sharing some of it with us this afternoon. And,
Oh, you're welcome. You're always welcome. I am humbled. I am humbled, I say.
You know, it is through examples from people like you that inspire many of us, and I'm hopeful, especially now with great respect to you as well, that the Honorable Mayor Lawrence would have called in and lent her voice, to the airwaves. I think it bodes well for a country who may have been asking where are the courageous people to question, to comment, to critique.
One of the things I lament in this society, Dwayne, is that when people reach a certain age, and particularly when they have the intellectual capacity to still be productive, they're often sidelined. We as a society, that's what in my writings I say that Caymanians don't respect letters, they respect wealth, riches. In any other society, persons like the Honorable Speaker would be sought out, would be on a panel of eminent persons whose opinions would always be sought, even solicited, even if they were not always taken and put into action. They certainly would be solicited and listened to. But such a thing never happens in the Cayman Islands. Instead, people like the Honorable Speaker, myself, Dr. Steve, Dr. Frank, Gilbert, we are often mocked and considered of no value. This is a very strange society, and perhaps it is a curse of our, how should I put it? Take 50 years of development in comparison to other societies where it took them 500 years to reach the same level that we have reached, where wealth trumps sage ideas and intellect. But I hope that we do not come to regret the folly of our ways. But it's difficult to see how it's going to be otherwise.
As I listen to you, though, I'm thinking that perhaps the idea that we are failing and have continued to fail to sort of not only embrace our people, but to invite them into conversation, to find a way to maybe not just benefit from their expertise and experience, but ask them for their counsel and guidance as we go forward. I think, as she shared, we're seeing an opportune time for a reset. There are those who, from the environmental perspective, have said, wow, do you see how clear the water is, for instance? Now, are we missing the chance again relative to our development,
Of course
our
they are.
leadership?
Pardon my
Yes, sir.
interruption, but of course they are, because the people who drive the agenda, you don't see what kind of pressure they're putting on the premier to open up. They want to go back to the same old game. They want to go back, Mr. Moderator. They want to go back to the same old game of hearing the cash register ring instead of us, as I have said, use this as an inflection point. And I noticed that the honorable speaker says use this as a time to reset. No, they want to continue. They are hell bent. They want to go post haste at continuing the same old agenda that brought us all of these problems. Instead of us saying, here, we will use this experience as a time to pause and take a deep breath and have a review. Use this as an inflection point to see what we can change, to make more productive, to make more comprehensive, to make more all-inclusive, to see how we can bring in the rank and file, how we can share the progress, how we can reduce the inequalities that are facing us. No, man, they want to go back to this. Open up. They can't. I mean, there's one thing I commend the premier for. He would not flinch. He would not yield to all of the forces, and I imagine there must have been many, from how I see him, the references he made and how I see him behave. I give him, he has my full support and confidence and praise and admiration for that. He refused to budge and say, no, I'm not going that route. We are going to take our time. I only wish he could adopt that going forward and continue, because we need to reset. We need to use this as an inflection point to see what we can do better, because clearly going back to the same old is not helping us. Look at the peace and tranquility, the clearness of the waters, the pristineness of the environment. It's time for us to take a pause. We were going post-haste into overdevelopment, destroying the environment, losing people through all kinds of mental pressure and depression and stress.
As I listen to you, and again, just from the ability to critique and to analyze and to look at things sort of, after the fact, even, they say hindsight is 2020. With respect to the political directorate, and as you said, the resolve the Honorable Premier showed in the early days with his commitment to say, I'm not going to flinch, I'm going to waver, as you shared. Is it now that we're at risk because of the pressure he's breaking and bending, and he's going to cave into all these demands, or was it just political posturing in the early days to show a face, but really there was no resolve, no real, intent to do it? I mean,
No. I believe he was sincere. I don't think it was political posturing, because if it was political posturing, he could not have been so consistent. And I know, and with all due respect, we have some differences of opinion, but I give him full credit and full respect. The pressure is going to grow on him more and more now, because you see, and people are wise. It's coming up. It's coming down to election time, and the political directorate, they are going to have to take some decisions of exigence. But I still think that they should make their case and come to the public and say on certain things, here is what we believe to be in the best interest, and we will not budge. We will not budge to economic pressure. We will not budge to social pressure, and we will not even budge to political pressure. We refuse to compromise, and we will go down honorably if it takes us to go down. But we believe this is the best path for the Cayman Islands. And so we are prepared to rethink the situation because Dwayne,
yes, sir,
we are on the cusp. We're on the cusp of having to make earth-shattering decisions for the future of this jurisdiction that is called the Cayman Islands. Because in spite of all the pristine asseveration, and in spite of all the hope, and I'm a man of faith, tourism is going to take a long time before it comes back. And cruise tourism may never come back as we knew it. Just apply yourself to what is happening and what is the attitude toward cruise tourism in jurisdictions like the United States. Because people realize that cruise ships are virtual factories for the spread of this pandemic. And the airline industry itself is going to take a long time before. So here now is a good time for us to develop an internal economy. And I have never been reticent or embarrassed or intimidated about proposing some divergent solution. You know, I think now is the time for us to explore microfinance industries and cottage capitalism to empower the working class, the middle and the lower class Caymanians, and particularly women, and especially women from single family households. And it's just like I said in my article in response to the finance minister's comment. There are no shortage of models that we can use, beginning with the Grameen Bank, beginning with Action International, that we can approach to tap into expertise, and some of them we can even get seed capital, startup capital. When I was the president of the University College, I was dealing with the Grameen Bank International out of New York, and one of the things I regret is that I left before I had completely explored, because I had engaged the people to come down here to talk about developing microfinance initiatives to empower the people. That's what we need to do. We need to turn our development bank into a proper development bank based on the model of the Grameen Bank, which loans limited capital to people. And this bank is unique in that it has the only bank in the world with a 98% repayment rate. That's what we need to empower our people, because we can't depend on construction as the third pillar of the economy, because construction too is volatile. It depends on international capital and international demand over which we have no control. So we have to empower our own people through helping them to develop agri-industries. The government should be seeking to find arable land to lease or sell to small entrepreneurs that they can develop, and help them with capital and expertise, and encourage cottage capitalism so that we can grow our own internal market based firstly on producing a food supply, because people are going to always have to buy food. And we see the semblance of it already with the number of people who are small entrepreneurs who are going into farming. So there's the beginning. We need to take that. And let us not forget, we have a whole cadre of young people who are university graduates or about to become university graduates, so much so that we don't even know exactly how many or what areas they're qualified in. These are Caymanians that we owe jobs to. What is going to happen to them if we go back to the old system of bringing all these people from the four corners of the world on work permit? It cannot continue. It is not sustainable, and it's going to end in social chaos and breakdown in the society. It's going to end up in what some people call restiveness.
You did make that comment a number of times, and even your most recent article, that level of social unrest, that
Of course, because how are we going to tell people that we said go and get an education and you'll get employment, when they went and got their education and they come back and we tell them there are no jobs for us? Dwayne, as a historian, I can tell you, social upheaval and unrest in societies never came from the ignorant masses, It came from the educated middle class. That's where it came from. The people who had an expectation and whose expectations were not met. These are the persons that come from, and so it's going to come from all these university graduates that we sent away and come back now, and there is nothing for them. Worse, when they see that their places are taken with persons who are not even Caymanian, whom they don't even know. It's going to be a sad state of affairs if we don't use this as an inflection point. Of course, it's going to be a little inconvenience, but what is a little inconvenience to experience when you are over that inconvenience? The path ahead is going to be smooth. That is but a semicolon, or maybe not even a semicolon.
Probably just even a little comma, if nothing else.
Perhaps a little comma. Perhaps a little comma.
But Mr. Borden, when we look at it, two things, and it would appear that initially, through the ability to develop policy and enact legislation, that it is the political directorate to set the tone. I think we are all in agreement that the Honorable Premier showed very, very determined leadership in the early days. With the mounting pressure, if you could, what would you say to him and his government in terms of that reset, that pause, that point of inflection now, so that future generations, the Premier is still a relatively young man. He could have 40, 50, plus years, as he shared. He comes from stock that lives to see, many years.
Well, I don't know. We don't know that. Only God knows how many years we have to live. But,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But making natural assumptions. Exactly. He's still quite a healthy man, and,
yes, sir.
I'm sure he would have at least about 30 years as things go. If political stress doesn't take a toll on him, he'd have about a good 30 or more years to live. So here's what I would do. But and it can only work if they can avoid this pitfall, which is commonly made. What I noticed with political directorate, including the political directorate of which I was a part, the United Democratic Party, is they seem to surround themselves with psychopaths, with people who tell them what they want to hear, instead of telling them what is the best solution based upon the information given and the circumstances in which one finds oneself. And so what I noticed with political directorate is that they recycle the same old people, all these people from the white-collar section, all the same favorites, the same names, political directorate after political directorate. And they are often professional when they should be interspersed with some lay people.
Mm-hmm.
Because the academics, the accountants, and the lawyers, they don't know it all. They should have some people from the rank and you have successful people from the rank and file. Why aren't people like the Honorable Speaker not tapped to be a person of eminence? Why aren't people like Dr. Steve McField not tapped to be advisors? Why aren't other people not tapped to be advisors? Why all the time it's the same people? And we have to stop being scared of people who are going to tell us things which are different from what we think we want to hear. And stop seeing these people as bogeymen. I like the position I'm in because I'm an intellectual and I want to remain that way. I want to maintain my independence, to call it as I see it, and to be a chronicler. So I'm not promoting myself. But there are other people more eminent than I am that I think whose expertise I think could be utilized, but they're not. They're not, and so we're not going to make it until we put more faith in our own people, and that's been the fault of political directorate from the late Jim Borden on down, and perhaps even before him. They've all made the same mistake. They choose to surround themselves with persons who are more psychophants than they are independent thinkers, and people who say, no, why should it not be this way? Or here's a better way I think it can work. So the Premier, to his credit, has done well, but now he needs to take it to the next level. And build an exit strategy for coming out of this coronavirus crisis. And that's the thing that I'm calling upon. That's the thing that I'm calling for, and that's the thing that I say is missing, because it is crucial now. We did well with managing the crisis. The test of the pudding is to have an exit strategy which complements that management and takes it to the next level so that Caymanians can feel confident that indeed they are benefiting from the development of the Cayman Islands. Otherwise, we are going to be building a society that is going to be torn down. We're going to be buying a book for someone else to read.
Yep. And we can't even understand it's there even to begin with. But Mr. Bond, maybe if I could maybe ask of you for one last sort of comment and set the stage for God's will in future discussions. There seems to be this notion, whether you're looking at the what's unfolding in any of the markets in the US or in a part of North America or the UK or Europe, that we can buy our way out of this. The IMF, I think, had said it has a $1 trillion war chest. Maybe it's trillions. All of the political pundits, and I like the word you use, the sycophants that have surrounded them, the politicians have said, the answer to this is just throw more money at it.
No, it's not. That's not the answer. And you have to understand, we can't throw more money at it because one of the lessons I learned at the Maxwell School was this, that the weak cannot dictate terms to the strong. And we have a problem now. We have an immediate crisis now over which we have to navigate ourselves. What about the blacklist of the OECD? And every time we get off, they move the goalpost further so that we have but the briefest of respite before we have to struggle again to keep up. So we cannot buy our way out, and we can and after a while it's like we're swimming against the tide. We're going to get tired. We're going to get fatigued with trying, and we're in a business which is very competitive. Remember now, which is the bane of my argument. We are in two of the most competitive areas in the world: tourism and international finance. Every monkey and his uncle is into those two things. So the competition is stiff. So therefore, we have to find something else. We have to create our own niche. And here's what I understand. Here's what I know. The only way to control the future is to invent it. The only way to control the future, Mr. Moderator, is for us to invent the future. So we have to invent something of which we ourselves are in control. And what better thing to do than to come up with something in an internally driven economy of which we are in control. And the final thing I want to say, which is perhaps the most controversial, we cannot continue basing our economy on a consumption-based model.
Consumption-based, huh?
Import duties, work permit sales, all these kind of things. We cannot continue to base our economic model on that. It is unsustainable, and it will force us. That's what's forcing us now to overdevelop, to destroy the environment. So we have to come in control of something else. So it's time now to take a deeper look, a more fundamental look. How can we use the land? How can we use our human capital? And you and I had these arguments, and we're always having these arguments. This is a perennial, and this is the thing that unites you and I. And I'm a generation older than you. The fundamental key lies in education. And you know this, we talk much every time we meet. The fundamental key is education. We have to have a revolution in education. We have to change our system. And I'm going out on a limb, I'm going to say this. You see, as a result of this coronavirus, it has set the public school system back 5 years. You hear what I'm saying, sir?
Yes, sir.
You hear what I'm saying, sir? When the assessment is made, we will find out that the students in the public school system have been set back 5 years in just a matter of a few months. In just a matter of a few months.
And I don't think that we are, as parents, policymakers, and even educators, starting to even acknowledge that significant negative consequence. But,
and we're not ready.
Yeah.
We're not ready. We're not ready. I heard the honorable speaker say, how are we going to accommodate them in opening up? Because it's not going to be the traditional classrooms are not going to be like they are, because here's another thing I know from listening to the experts and the pundits. Coronavirus is going to be with us for a long time, We are going to have to be taking cognizance of social distance and wearing masks for a long time into the future. So classrooms are going to have to be reconfigured. We're going to have to use far more plexiglass. We're going to use far more people who have to ensure that hand sanitizers are available, that facilities for washing the students' hands, particularly at the younger age. So we're not just going back into the traditional classrooms, Mr. Moderator. We're going to have to go back into modified classrooms. And here is my point of contention. And I know this well because I was the author of this years ago. We had a model in the public school system for completeness, having a system which was based on the media, modern electronic media, italic improving teaching and learning in the Cayman Islands, where every one of our students from the primary school had their own laptop computer. We had a contract with IBM. So now this coronavirus would not even have been a blip on the radar if we still had that plan. Our students would not have lost one day if that plan was still en vogue. That was what it was designed for exactly circumstances like this. So now we have all this big gap. I was angered when I saw all these drives, with all due respect to these charitable organizations. But we should not have to be begging companies to give our students laptops. When I had an agreement with IBM, a contract with IBM, to supply laptop computers to the school children, to public school children in the Cayman Islands. So we should not have to be dependent on that, on charity. Every one of our school children had them. I even started the program when I went to UCCI, where as you registered, part of the package where you got a laptop computer. I had the arrangement with Kirk Office ISS, because I know the way of the world. That's the way the world is going. Digital learning. It's a knowledge economy. And we have to prepare our students to take advantage of this knowledge economy, to take advantage of the computer. But you see, when these ideas are not understood, people shoot them down and they talk all kinds of nonsense and come with put down. But if I am anything, I'm an educator. And so I follow the international trends and I keep up with the times, because that's the only way Cayman is going to make it, is if we're on the cusp. If we are on the cusp, we could be a Singapore.
This is where, as you shared, the vision now and the time to pause, to reflect, to be introspective, and to reset. Mr. Borden, it always is an honor, especially publicly like this, that we can, offer the public an opportunity to hear your perspective. And I trust and pray that you continue to be safe and well, and that as a public we'll continue to ask questions and to act in a very positive and proactive way. If there's a final thought or comment that you want to leave with us, sir?
Well, the final comment is one of encouragement, because I'm a Libran, and so by nature, for those people, I don't believe in astrology, but for want of some kind of explanation, I'm always full of optimism, and as a Caymanian, I want to offer hope. I want to be a part of the solution, and not a part of the problem. But as far as I'm concerned, I will continue to speak out, and I make no apologies for the inconvenient truth I speak, although I will try not to slander or destroy people as I have had to suffer destruction. I will try to be as constructive as I can. But I think this is our last chance. This is our last chance. And if we lose this opportunity because we have crossed the Rubicon already, for those people who are familiar with Julius Caesar, we have crossed the Rubicon. But we have one more opportunity to use this experience as an inflection point, to coin Madam Speaker's term, to reset before we take off post-haste in the old direction from which we came, because we can understand all that gave us was problems. We had no end of problems, and we're leaving far too many people behind. Far too many people are dropping out of the cracks, and we're faced with phenomena that are not nice: homelessness, mental breakdown, delinquency among our youth, alienated and nihilistic youth. So this is the time now for us to say, take a pin. And I want to add this last controversial point to those people who accuse us, Caymanians, as having an entitlement mentality. I'm working on an article because our entitlement mentality is the effect of us suffering relative deprivation. And I know you're a scholar, Dwayne, so when you get off work, Google relative deprivation. Mm-hmm. We as Caymanians have been suffering relative deprivation. So in response to that, we have cultivated an entitlement mentality. And after all, if one is not entitled in their country of citizenship, then you tell me, where are those people going to be entitled? Like the Mall American Express ad, rank has its privileges, and Caymanians should have privileges. After all, we have certain ancestral rights. We should be able to capitalize on those rights. And I have always held that we should be open, but Caymanians should be primus inter pares, first among the equals. And that is my position, unadulterated. I refuse to change that, because when I go back and I see that my great-grandmother came off a slave ship in Bordentown, I cannot accord the same respect to people who came here overnight. And I certainly don't think that they are my equals when I have all that blood, all those years on my side, and they just came.
Okay. Well, you remind me. I mean, Stouffer's comments. I guess World War II, the idea of relative deprivation, and the fact that they are as relevant today. Maybe it's part of the reason why we have allowed people to confuse, notions of national pride with xenophobia, notions of trying to, as you shared, to be champion in your own country, and somehow that is going to skew to be used to infer something more sinister. And this is where we benefit from, not just your intellect as an academic, but your scholarly approach to, allowing us to look at things in a positive light that isn't designed to be vitriolic, nor shared in a way to be other more than insightful, get people to appreciate the context. Thank you very much, sir. It's always an honor to listen to you, to learn from you.
It is you, my young friend. It is you whom I should thank for thinking so much of me. Sometimes you make me self-conscious that you call me up here once in a while and say, old man, dust yourself off and see if you can come up with a couple of comments. It is indeed humbling, and I appreciate your respect, and I want to say publicly that I hold a mutual respect for you. God bless, and
God bless
continue your work.
Amen. And thank you, sir, for the leadership, for the stewardship, and the fact that you toil the soil with your hands, and you also, nowadays, put the pen to paper to be the chronicler. I'm and the society will all, eternally owe you a debt. Blessings to you for continued safety, wisdom to you and the family, and please, share love with Miss Nancy. All the best to you, sir. And to our listeners, in a time like this, it's important that we reflect on all that we have and maybe appreciate that the way we celebrate isn't how we intend to, hopefully going forward, and certainly isn't how we did not that long ago. If I may, and hopefully without any great embarrassment, wish Miss Vinette, Betsy Ebanks, Miss Vinette, a very happy 90th birthday. I know you have children in particular who not only love and adore you, but like we do, especially for our mothers, just show a continued love and deference. And even though sometimes we're distant, we know we're not that far apart. So to you, Miss Vinette, as you put in the kitchen or enjoy the sweet taste of the birthday cake or listen to the songs and cheers of the children, may you continue to enjoy great health and presence of mind, and I feel a love and a comfort and a guidance of His Almighty hand. Special birthday, Miss Vinette. And to our listeners, please take this day that the Lord has made, not just rejoice in it and be thankful for it, but make it productive. If it's a politician that you need to pull aside to guide in the right direction, do so. If it is you yourself that need to look in the mirror and take corrective action, then do so. But let our hands be helpful, let our minds be focused on the positive and the everlasting. Let us not be guided by greed, but let us be responsible in our endeavors. Tomorrow, we invite you to come back for more Talk Today after the midday news, God's willing. Until then, be blessed.
Talk Today is brought to you by Fidelity Bank. For all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Also brought to you by greenturtle.ky. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express